Welcome back, everybody. My name is Grace, or Gibby, whatever you prefer, and today I've got another Yulgar only guide for the Geocastellum Mastercraft set. Now, my Yulgar only guides are guides where I use limited gear that anyone can purchase from any shop without doing a quest. So, stuff from Yulgar's shop, Robina's shop, Orlick's shop, the Haven shops, etc. So I do that to make these guides the most accessible, and then I explain the boss mechanics and any other mechanics you might need to know about to complete the quest. Now, the main draw of the Geocastellum Mastercraft set is the armor, because the armor has an ability which gives you an Ellie shield for a certain amount of turns. And Ellie shields reduce all your incoming damage. So if a monster is going to do 100 damage and you have a 75% Ellie shield, you'll only take 75% damage. Now, the reason that Geocastellum is really good is because there's sort of a buggy interaction where you can stack the shield many times in one turn, and if you stack it enough times in one turn, you will get a 0% Ellie shield. So all damage incoming will do 0 damage to you. Now, if that sounds broken, it's because it is. It lets you beat any boss in the game. It's just super strong. It's really strong, overpowered mechanic. I don't recommend playing the day-to-day game with this armor because it'll get kind of boring if you're just invincible for everything. But if you want to use it to cheese a boss that you're having trouble with, to get some items that you're really struggling to get, go ahead. No shame or anything in using some strong, overpowered gear. So that's the reason why you're probably going to want to do the Geocastellum set. Um, there are two things. If you're only going to use the Geocastellum set to become invincible with an Ellie shield, you don't have to actually complete all the levels of the quest. If you grab the level 45 armor, that will work just as well as the level 150 armor. A second thing is that when you get to the level 150 portion of the quest, there are two versions of the fight. There's the normal battle and the challenge battle. The challenge battle has more HP, more damage, and stronger abilities. The normal battle is just the normal version of the boss. The challenge only unlocks the ice shield and ice weapons for the set, which are like an alternate version of the earth weapons for the set and earth shield. They're not very good. I wouldn't recommend struggling over it if you don't need to. Now, I've explained how you can do the low-level version if you only want to use the shield to cheese monsters. I've explained how the challenge boss is much harder, but not really important, unless you want a specific ice shield, which isn't very good. So I'm going to explain the boss's mechanics now, so that if you do want the level 150 version of the armor, you can get it. So I'm doing this on a level 135 account, but the boss mechanic is the same both ways, level 135 and level 150. So, if you do the normal battle, you'll be up against Kragmar's Ghost. Now, he is undead and he is a ghost. And there are two, that gives you some options. But the way his mechanics work is he attacks with Earth and he has 200 Earth resistance. The first time you hit him with Earth every turn, you do full damage, but the next times you do 0 damage. So your first hit will be full, your later hits will be 0% damage. Now, the way he works is that every turn or two, or every couple turns, he charges up to do a buff to himself. And if you don't do earth damage to him during this charge up phase, he will greatly increase his defenses and damage output. So you really don't want him to buff himself, because if he does it 2 or 3 times, you'll be in huge, huge trouble. Now, the way to counter this is if you hit him with Earth, he does not charge up his stats, but what he does do is use a super attack. Now, this super attack can do thousands of damage, even on 13 resistances at level 150. Especially if he charges up his stats, the super attack goes crazy next time. And again, like he's going to repeat this charge up multiple times throughout the fight, as you can see in my recording later on with timestamps. He uses it like maybe 10 times throughout the fight, maybe more. So it's very frequent. You have to be ready for it. And the best way to counter this, I think, is to play into his mechanics. You want to hit him with Earth when he does the charge up, otherwise he'll be too strong too quickly, and you won't be able to beat him. Now, there's a couple ways to negate his laser attack, which happens after you hit him with Earth. One, you could use an Ellie Shield. If you have Space Gauntlet, if you have Sisters of Mercy, if you have Necro's Rend Mana, although you wouldn't really want to use Necro because it's not an Earth armor, but sources of Ellie Shield like that, you can greatly reduce the incoming damage. If you want to use Choke, that is another good option. The reason Choke is so good against him is because while he does have a damage cap, he does not have a boss boost. So Choke is very easy to inflict, especially if you have some potency. So if you can cut his damage down with Choke, you'll take a lot less damage. That's another solution. The easiest solution is using an Earth defensive misc. I recommend Mystic Plug because it's in the intro quest. And it just cuts Earth damage in half and gives you some magic defense. Very easy misc to get, very low upkeep, very good. But there are lots of other Earth defensive miscs if you have other ones like Father's Day, Tie, or Sock. There's the Morning Star emblem. There's lots of Earth defensive miscs. You could pick any one of them. So, those are my favorite defensive methods. You can use an Ellie Shield, you can use Dodge, you can use an Earth Misc, you can use Choke or Panic to lower his damage. Another thing you can do is stun lock him because he doesn't have freedom. So if you have great sources of stun like Necro's Wind Ghost or Mogden or other sources, you can stun lock him too. Okay, so those are some good defensive options. One thing you can do if you want to increase your damage output towards him, keep in mind this boss is Kragmar's Ghost. He's a ghost and he's undead. So we actually have a weapon that triggers to do void damage against ghosts. It only works for mages because it's a magic weapon. It's the Amethyst staff from the Arctic's Returns quest, I believe. Like Amethyst Ethereal Staff, it does void damage against ghosts, so 200% damage. So that's a good option if you're a mage. You can use any weapon-based skill. You can use just basic attacks and just do double damage. Whatever you do will probably work very well. You can also use Paladin because Paladin gets a ton of bonuses against undead monsters. You could use the Sacred Paladin weapons for great healing. You could use any Paladin triggers stuff to just negate the boss's, well, not negate, but give yourself a great advantage against the boss. So those are my two best recommendations, Paladin or the Ethereal Amethyst staff, to greatly increase your damage output. As for that, his highest resistance that's not Earth, which is again his sort of cheaty resistance, because your second hits will do 0 damage, is Wind. So bring whatever wind damage source you have, pets and guests, spells, skills, etc. You can use Celerity and Purple Rain against this guy with Shadow Feeder Pendant. Again, he doesn't have boss boost, form shift immunity, freedom, anything like that. So there's lots of ways to cheese him, but as you can see, I did the fight legit, just following his mechanics, and I did that with very poor gear. Now, it did take me 3 attempts, so it did involve some luck and some potions, but it's possible. You don't have to go too crazy for the normal version of the boss. So that pretty much wraps up this video and mechanics guide. I hope this is helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions or any specific concerns with the method, or if you have any recommendations for other quests to do on this account. I'm running low on quests that I think people struggle with, so I really do want some recommendations. Check in my playlist if I haven't done them already, and recommend them down below. Thank you guys for your time. I hope this is helpful, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace and love, everybody.